At first, nothing looked wrong. He still replied, still showed up, still said he cared. But something changed, the energy got quieter, the effort became inconsistent. The emotional presence started fading long before the relationship actually ended, and that's usually the confusing part. Because most people assume men lose interest suddenly, like a switch flipped overnight. But a lot of the time, he didn't lose attraction to you first. He lost attraction to how the relationship started feeling inside his nervous system. That's the hidden part most people never talk about. Because male desire is not just driven by attraction, it's driven by emotional atmosphere, by whether the relationship feels like pressure or relief. And honestly, many men slowly lose interest when the relationship stops feeling emotionally safe to exist inside. Not because the woman became unattractive, because the emotional cost of the connection quietly became too high. That's important, because a lot of men spend relationships managing emotional tension they don't fully know how to explain. Every conflict becomes a performance test. Every emotional shift feels dangerous, every mistake feels expensive, and over time, the nervous system starts associating the relationship with pressure instead of restoration. That changes desire more than people realize, because many men are already carrying enormous amounts of external pressure. Pressure to succeed, pressure to provide, pressure to remain emotionally controlled, pressure to not fail publicly. So when the relationship also becomes emotionally heavy, something inside him slowly starts shutting down. Not because he wants distance emotionally, because his nervous system starts moving into survival mode. That's when you see the silent drift, less initiative, less emotional openness, less pursuit, not because he's trying to punish the relationship, because internally, he's trying to stop the emotional bleeding. And one of the biggest interest killers for men is when the relationship starts feeling like a performance environment, meaning he no longer feels safe to simply exist. Now, he feels evaluated constantly, monitored constantly, like one wrong tone, one missed text, one exhausted moment might emotionally destabilize the entire relationship. That pressure changes male desire dramatically, because attraction cannot survive long-term inside constant emotional surveillance. That's why so many men slowly disconnect in relationships where they feel they must remain on all the time. Perfect boyfriend, perfect communicator, perfect emotional regulator, perfect source of reassurance. And eventually, the relationship stops feeling like connection and starts feeling like emotional labor. That's exhausting psychologically. Another hidden interest killer is fragility, not emotion. Fragility, there's a difference. Emotion says, I'm hurt. Fragility says, you are now responsible for stabilizing my emotional world. That weight changes the atmosphere of a relationship very quickly, because now the man starts feeling like one wrong move emotionally destabilizes another person. And honestly, a lot of men slowly begin associating closeness with pressure when that happens. Not because they don't care, because they care so much that they become afraid of causing emotional fallout constantly. That's why some men start needing more space as the relationship becomes emotionally heavier. Not because intimacy scares them, because pressure exhausts them. And another thing people rarely talk about, men often lose motivation when they stop feeling like they can win inside the relationship. Not win arguments, win emotionally, meaning their effort no longer feels effective. No matter what they do, it's still not enough. Still another problem. Still another disappointment. Still another emotional deficit to solve. And eventually, many men stop trying, not because they stopped caring, but because they stopped believing success inside the relationship was possible. That destroys desire quietly, because desire needs emotional movement, hope, momentum, and one of the deepest truths about male attraction is this. A man's strongest attraction is often reserved for the place where he finally feels safe enough to take off his armor, the place where he no longer feels managed, judged, monitored, or psychologically tested every moment. That's what many men mean when they say, I just want peace. They're not asking for emotional numbness, they're asking for relief. Relief from pressure, relief from performance, relief from feeling like love is another environment where they must constantly prove themselves to remain accepted. Because when a man feels, I can fully be myself here, desire tends to deepen naturally. But when he feels, I must become a specific version of myself to keep this relationship emotionally stable, desire slowly starts dying. That's why attraction thrives in emotional safety, but dies in emotional surveillance. And honestly, many people accidentally create surveillance when they're trying hardest to create closeness. Constant emotional checking, constant analysis, constant monitoring for changes in energy. And while the intention may be love, The nervous system experiences pressure. That distinction matters, which is why rebuilding attraction is usually less about trying harder and more about changing the emotional atmosphere of the relationship itself. Instead of asking, how do I make him more interested? The better question is, how do I make this connection feel like relief instead of pressure? That changes everything, because men are deeply affected by environments where they can finally breathe psychologically. And this is where self-possession becomes incredibly important. A partner who has her own emotional center, her own identity, her own happiness outside the relationship removes an enormous amount of unconscious pressure from the dynamic. Now, love feels mutual instead of dependent. Now, closeness feels chosen instead of emotionally required. That creates space for desire to return naturally. And honestly, sometimes giving a man space is not a game, it's oxygen, not disappearing emotionally, not punishment, not manipulation, just enough room for his nervous system to reset and reconnect voluntarily instead of defensively. Because many men do not leave relationships because they stop loving. They leave because they stop breathing inside them. And the most attractive thing you can offer a man is not perfection, it's a place where he doesn't have to be perfect to feel loved. Have you ever felt a partner slowly pull away right when you started trying harder to keep the relationship together? And looking back, how did the emotional atmosphere of the relationship start changing? Let's talk about it in the comments.